to you, and thank you so much for finding time to be with us. About 8 minutes past 2 p.m. here in Nairobi, East African time. The show is Africa Showdown. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and I trust that your weekend is going on well. And joining us from the other side of town is none other than Dr. David Matanga. Doctor, very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Miriam. Thank you very much, viewers across the continent of Africa, and those watching us, thank you very much. It is a great day in Nairobi. That it is the date is 5th. The time was 11 o'clock, and the 5th time, His Excellency, the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga has just got his papers. I want to thank you very much, all Kenyans. I'm away from the main studios and very far from Nairobi, but I want to thank you very much for praying for His Excellency President to be number 5, 50th President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. Thank you very much across the continent of Africa. Thank you, viewers. Today, the program will be very short. It is elections and nominations in Kenya. Who is being nominated? Why? What is going on? Is the IEBC ready? If the IEBC is not ready, why can they return a verdict that they are not ready to conduct the elections? So thank you very much, viewers across the continent of Africa and the rest of the world. I will be watching in. Miriam, I can see very good, great headlines, and I've read them online. I thank you very much. I will be with you very early in the morning, joining you direct from the headquarters of Punchline Africa Television. Otherwise, from me, wherever I am at the airport, I say thank you very much for the patronage of all our viewers, millions and millions watching us right now. Thank you.
Very well, thank you so much. And of course, you are joined by Daniel Wesonga. Wesonga, very good afternoon to you.
Yes, very good afternoon to Miriam. Good to our headquarters. Good afternoon to Masanga David, who is away, and good afternoon to our people here in Nairobi, Kenya, East Africa, and the rest of the world who are tuning in for the Africa Showdown this Sunday afternoon. It is my pleasure to be on the conversation, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much. And before we get into the conversation, I'd like to bring us up to date with the headlines this afternoon. Of course, some of it has been overtaken by events, as on the Sunday Standard, Raila's moment as he seeks IEBC clearance to run. We know that so far he has already been cleared, and we shall look at that. Race over lifetime, that is the main headline. At 11:21 a.m., Deputy President raised the certificate after being cleared to run for president. UDA leader promises economic revolution as he prepares for massive campaigns and lists Kenya Kwanza priorities, among them creating jobs, easing cost of living and debt burden. Wants over plot to by shadow individuals and systems to manipulate polls and subvert will of the people. The story is on page 6, 7, and 8, and 9. You know, yesterday, Deputy President William Ruto was also cleared to run as a presidential candidate in the forthcoming general elections in August. And the Sunday Nation, the main headline, Raila's best chance. And of course, today he has been cleared. Ruto, bring it on. That is on page 4, 17, 18, and 19. And then just down there, 800 students to get COVID vaccine before admission, and Kenyan video game star on Forbes list. And just up there, we see the opinion pieces by different writers there, from Florence Kajuju, John Kamau, Professor Makau Mutua, Sadi Bindra, and of course, Chef Okore. So that is what we have on the leading news papers this afternoon. And perhaps we start with some announcements that were made yesterday. Of course, Doc, this is a conversation that we've been having throughout the week. Daniel, you were not there. So Sonko has been denied, clearance, but everybody else and have been allowed to run for these elections in spite of these cases they have in the courts. Doc, you can start us off.
Thank you very much. First of all, it is very, very important that there is something which is not rhyming on this question of clearance. Chebukati quotes the law and says those impeached remain impeached. What about those convicted? How do they remain convicted? How about Waluke? Waluke was convicted to 67 years and is still going to buy. Doesn't he remain convicted? Okay, fine. Impeachment could mean political impeachment, which means what were the conditions of the impeachment? I think I'm going to begin, as I am not beginning, but I have always doubted the capability of IEBC chairperson to conduct these elections. And the fairness of these elections depend on how good they will be conducted. If these elections are not properly conducted, they could bring a disaster to the people of Kenya. So it is high time that we started checking on a number of things that are not working. And if we find that the checklist does not match what we have, then it is better for Mr. Chebukati to talk to the president and the people of Kenya and the parliament, and they see how they can rectify some of these things. Otherwise, I have stated and I continue to state that a bad election in Africa, a bad election anywhere on planet Earth is a bad war at the end of it. If you arrange the election badly, organize it badly, frustrate it, you will create the chaos. Therefore, this must be sunk, it must be told that there is a likelihood of chaos if we are not careful about some of the mistakes that we are making right now. And I think we have talked about it the whole week. We have been saying some of the things. What about Waluke? Mr. Waluke was convicted for having stolen money, and he was convicted, sentenced, and spent time in jail for 67. So what about okay, let's look at Sonko going to the Supreme Court and seeking to a constitutional review. What will you do? What will you say? What will you say to him? So these are some of the things that are not rhyming as far as the constitutional court is concerned, the IEBC is concerned. So we still have a problem on the IEBC issue, and that can bring a lot of chaos. And when you go back to the reorganization, we are waiting for the report of KPMG. KPMG says 21 million voters cleared, the register can be seen. But let's be very honest. Is this register the same one where they got the papers for filing 48,000 papers, signatures? Where are the signatures? Whose signatures are those? There are quite a number of things. If the register is not clean, where did these people get the signatures? So there are so many questions being raised on a daily basis before the ballot papers are even printed. There's also a question on the ballot papers. How did this contract end up? And Miriam, there is another new thing that has come on developing on this election. Otimofo, the company that actually had the servers, still has a problem with the IEBC. And then IEBC has gone to get another American company. And the people are querying this American company. So I don't know how you people, as far as Kenyans are concerned, how you are going to handle it. It's my worry. It's my biggest worry. And thank you very much for inviting me to the show. I am at the airport. I will be talking to you shortly, maybe tomorrow morning. But thank you very much. God bless you. If there is any other question, before I go, I still have some time, like 20 minutes. Then I can take it before Wesonga comes in.
No, because I wanted Wesonga to still, just speak on that before we move on to another item.
And Miriam, there's one point I wanted to make. I had forgotten. Yesterday's Ruto's nomination. It was a nomination, but the opening speech of a candidate, he did not make the punches that I expected. I expected him to make punches, to punch. to punch that this is what he will do. That is what I will do. But he went on talking and confusing himself and talked back and confused himself. And the ceremony was full of rowdy exchanges, heckling, pushing here and there because of Mr. Farouk Kibet, who was pushing people left and right. So it didn't, to me, it looked like and the way he was introduced, you are now a presidential candidate, you are coming to tell Kenyans what you are going to do. The way he did his thing, I think it left me with a lot of joy first, that the type of candidate that we have is a failure, does not tell us how we fight corruption. Because the biggest point now here, that what Kenyans want to hear, how will you fight corruption? Not that Kenya has no money. Kenya has money. The money is eaten by the corrupt people. So how will you fight corruption? If any candidate now in this election can do that, then that is all people want at the moment. Thank you very much.
All right.
That is what I wanted to make observations this afternoon.
Very well, thank you so much, Daniel Wesonga. On the same, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has disqualified former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko from the Mombasa governorship race. Also hit by the IEBC thunderbolt is former Kiambu Youth Executive Karungo Thangwa, who was set to vie for the Kiambu senatorial seat on a United Democratic Alliance UDA ticket, and former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu. Of course, it is because they have been for Sonko, they had been impeached and Waititu. And I'll just jump a few lines there, and I'll just quote what Chebukati said. The Commission's position is that Article 75 of the Constitution is self-speaking and self-executive and does not have a saving clause. Therefore, the three aspirants who have been removed from public office through impeachment are disqualified from contesting in the election, said Chebukati. But of course, there was a sign of relief.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And just like Dr. Matsanga has brought the point about IEBC out, I think he has been very, very exhaustive, and he has captured all the tenets of the law that should actually be applied in regards to maybe disqualifying some of the candidates who are faced by integrity issues from the rest. And to me, I think Wafula Chebukati is being selective, and he's actually cherry picking when it comes to deciding who should buy and who should not buy. Because when you look at it, Waluke, the MP for Sirisia, was actually convicted, as Dr. Matsanga says, and he actually also spent time in jail. But no court has come out to say that Waluke was wrongfully convicted for crimes that he did not commit. As far as we are concerned, the truth is concerned, we know that this is a matter that is before the court. So, and therefore also when you look at Governor Mike Mbuvi, former Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko's case, this is also a matter that is before the Supreme Court of Kenya. So it really puts the whole scenario in jeopardy. It really brings up a mix-up that might not make things to be quite clear going forward. What if maybe one of these aspirants that has been barred goes to a court of law and the court orders IEBC to involve them into the process, whereas maybe they will have already printed the ballot boxes, the ballot papers. What happens maybe once maybe the IEBC clears someone like Waluke, only for a court of law to come and say that this individual is not supposed to be on the ballot? That will be a waste of taxpayers' money. It is going to bring more confusion, and simply because I think Wafula Chebukati does not interpret this law holistically, and he does not actually maybe strictly anchor it on what the Constitution says. And he's an advocate of the High Court. He's a lawyer, very learned lawyer, who I expect that he should be having a better understanding of the law as it stipulates in regards to the Chapter 6 of our Constitution on who should buy based on integrity issues and who should not buy based on the same. So, and Miriam, this is the reason why for you to be the chairman of IEBC, there's a requirement that you should have a legal degree, and perhaps you should have an experience of a certain amount of time in the legal field. And that is why Chebukati is there. But if he fails to interpret the law and to be able to give a clear guideline on who should buy and who should not buy, then he's going to cause a lot of chaos, because most people, the supporters of people who are going to be blocked maybe with maybe a certain view of the law without looking at the whole entire structure, and people who are going to also be cleared despite maybe being found culpable of certain crimes, all these sides are going to emit mixed reactions. And that is where now confusion sets in, and it's more likely to polarize even the country. Because if you are stopping a certain corrupt individual from vying for office, but you give a green light to another, then it really brings some kind of doubt on the credibility of the body itself. Which basis does the IEBC use to give a green light to Waluke that it does not maybe use to give a green light to Sonko? So to me, I think, Miriam, we should go by the cardinal principle that what is good for the gander is good for the goose, and therefore should put Waluke of Sirisia and Sonko Waititu and any other leader who has been impeached in the same basket when it comes to maybe barring leaders who fail to attain the minimum of the Chapter 6 of our Constitution from vying for any office. But if we selectively or maybe in a certain way, which appears to be favoring other people, to allow them to buy and we stop others, then I don't know which Ramasanga said. If Waluke has been allowed to buy, then Chebukati should tell us on what basis. Because to me, in as much as the law is concerned, people failed the integrity test, and therefore Chebukati should not have any holy house. He should, if he's saying Sonko should not buy in Mombasa, the same law should apply to Wafula Chebukati. The same law should apply to even Lenonklal of Samburu. It should apply to Ojamong of Busia. It should apply to even governors who are facing other criminal proceedings in the court of law. But whatever he's doing, he's causing more chaos, and that is why perhaps I agree strongly with Dr. Masanga that if IEBC is not ready for these elections, then it should actually come out clearly and say that we are not able to hold these elections. Kindly give us time to prepare. Kindly give us time to sort out the mess that we have in the commission so that we are able to find a clear path going towards this particular election. Because, Miriam, a bungled election, an election which is held upon the podium of illegalities, is an election which could easily be overturned by a court of law, and that will mean that the people of Kenya first will have wasted their time going to queue to cast their ballots. The people of Kenya would have lost their money through all this process. The people of Kenya might actually be drawn into conflict that they do not anticipate. So Wafula Chebukati should be very firm, he should be very clear, and he should give a clear direction on what measures, on what laws are there to actually be able to vet and ascertain that certain individuals meet Chapter 6, the threshold of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and certain individuals do not meet a certain threshold. And this law should not be applied selectively. It should be as it is in the Constitution, Miriam. I submit.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And Daniel, perhaps it will interest you to know that the IEBC actually instructed, even for those who on this list, the 241, aspirants who the EACC had earmarked as blacklisted as people who are not suitable to run for these elections. Of course, a few of them, like Mike Sonko, have been denied, that clearance. But the rest of them, the IEBC also instructed them to go back to the EACC and to fill a form and for EACC to clear them, the same EACC that blacklisted them and said they were not really fit to hold, office. I don't know how EACC is going to do that, but we shall wait and see how that will play out. All right, and speaking of nominations, Deputy President William Ruto was yesterday cleared by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to contest the presidency in August, marking a significant step in his political career. Dr. Ruto was cleared alongside alongside his running mate Rigathi Gachagua at the Bomas of Kenya. IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati said the two met the requirements set by the Commission. Of course, the DP is the fourth presidential candidate to be cleared by the Commission after Roots Party leader George Wajakoya, Mr. Walter Mongare of Umoja Summit Party, and Mr. David Moura Wahiga of Agano Party. And of course, yesterday DP Ruto expressed confidence in the IEBC, but that is quite contrary to what he has been saying, especially in the recent past. Doc. Wesonga, go ahead.
Thank you so much.
First of all,
Okay.
sorry. First of all, I'm sorry about that. First of all, I would like to tell you, I don't know, are you hearing me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to tell you that there is a game that Chebukati and William Ruto are playing. When William Ruto shouts, Chebukati keeps quiet. When Chebukati shouts, Ruto shouts or keeps quiet. So there is a game that you as Kenyans should watch, that this game could become a huge problem. Sorry. There is a game that is being played that I don't know why it is switching off and on. Are you hearing me now, Miriam?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Okay. There is a game that they are playing. When William Ruto is speaking, Chebukati keeps quiet. When Chebukati is speaking, William Ruto keeps quiet. So now, Miriam, you are in the studios and you have to investigate why. You know, yesterday he was all praises for His Excellency, the presidential candidate, William Ruto, because the title of the DP ended yesterday. It is just is just on paper, but not in practicality, because he has surrendered all the state powers. He doesn't have a flag. He doesn't fly a flag now as a deputy president. He's just a deputy president by shadows, by a mirage. Therefore, he's no longer worth mentioning. He's being mentioned as a presidential candidate and not any other title. And yesterday marked the beginning of his flagless security were withdrawn. You can see new security has been given to him by the police, by the electoral law, and he can bring his own security, but not the state money. No state money apart from the two policemen that are given to each presidential candidate. You cannot have more than that. So from yesterday, things have changed. But there's a game that they play with Chebukati. Who is Chebukati? Chebukati must be doing some bidding for somebody. They tell you, oh, we are waiting for the KPMG report, which was delayed and published at a time when you cannot correct anything. You realize that, Miriam, you cannot correct anything at the moment. We are like, we know there is a tsunami coming, and we are warned that there is water coming from the ocean, but we are walking towards the ocean. So that is how the Kenya elections are now. That's what I can say. And I believe that time will tell. Very shortly, people will know that I was right.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, Daniel Wesonga, still on the same yesterday, of course, while being cleared at the Bomas of Kenya, DP expressed confidence in the IEBC's ability to conduct these elections. But a day before that, he was really, he was really calling out to the IEBC and saying, they raising questions about even, how IEBC was going to conduct these elections and casting a shadow on the credibility of the upcoming elections. So are you surprised that now he has confidence on the IEBC?
Yes, Miriam, I think one thing that comes out clearly is what Dr. Matsanga has talked about, that, Wafula Chebukati and William Ruto actually have a conniving way, that they are working together. How did William Ruto come to know that more than 1 million voters had been struck out of the IEBC register? Who is talking to him about all these matters that are happening at the helm of IEBC? That is the quintessential question that every Kenyan of sane mind should actually interrogate, when it comes to the relationship between IEBC and William Ruto. And you put it clearly that just the other day, he was ranting about IEBC. And yesterday, he actually came out clearly to say that he has confidence into IEBC. Where did IEBC sit with him and actually assure him that they actually now worked on the 1 million names that were missing in the register? Or do they have a side chat with Wafula Chebukati in an official way that he assured him now that things are correct? So, Miriam, I don't want to maybe dilute whatever Dr. Matsanga has talked about. I believe it's a very, very important point that we should actually take a moment and actually be able to digest it. So I'll leave it at that. But that is a very, very brainstorming question that each and every one of us should actually interrogate. So to me, I don't want to dilute whatever Dr. Matsanga has said about IEBC and William Ruto. But if you are a Kenyan of a sane, you should think about that critically. So it's a rhetorical question. Let the Kenyans answer for themselves after observing as Dr. Matsanga has directed. I submit.
Very well. So, of course, the Deputy President said he has faith and confidence in the electoral agency, warning those he accused of planning to rig the vote against taking the country back to the dark old days. And, of course, these are sentiments he made with Songa at Bomas of Kenya in the presence of IEBC's chairperson, Wafula Chebukati. I mean, when you accuse another person or another entity or, anybody of trying to tamper and rig these elections, and yet the chairman of the IEBC is present, is that something that he should have probed further? Or why do you think Wafula Chebukati did not perhaps, probe further what Ruto was saying? Because these are very damning, statements in his presence.
Yes, I absolutely agree, Miriam, on that kind of allegation. And, such kind of, reckless allegations, we know, remove credibility from the forthcoming as a body that actually wants to maybe bring for an image of transparency, credibility, and integrity. They should have William Ruto to the body. By now, I believe William Ruto would have been summoned by IEBC to make clear his allegations, to prove that indeed 1 million signatures had been struck off the IEBC signatures, and IEBC should actually prove to William Ruto that indeed this is what we did. And just like the CEO, Hussein Marjan, was saying, every name that has been struck off the IEBC register actually has some kind of trail, to the reason why it was struck, or maybe the reason why it was transferred. So they will have had a sit down with him and actually put this matter to rest, because these are some of the red tapes, that might actually be used as a basis to contest the credibility of the forthcoming presidential election. And it could actually have a very big legal implication to the IEBC if they do not settle that matter at this particular moment, because it is out of it is in the public gallery, Miriam, that William Ruto made and confirmed allegations that 1 million voters from his backyard had been struck off the IEBC register. And therefore, the only way to go about this is IEBC, through the laws that are there, electoral laws, and even just the general law, should actually come and call William Ruto to their premises and ask him to substantiate whatever claims he made in matters, maybe in manipulating the elections. Because he made these allegations before even the foreign delegation, the EU ambassadors, and therefore it is a serious matter. I believe IEBC should not take it lightly.
Yes,
I remember
Daniel,
when we had
just to cut you short, because you've reminded me, yes, he made that, was it on Thursday or Wednesday, when he was meeting the EU delegation in the country. And yesterday he appeared before the IEBC, and IEBC did not bring him to task, because this is a very serious matter as far as the credibility of these elections is concerned. Why do you think IEBC is downplaying such enormous allegation that might affect perception as far as the preparation of these elections is concerned?
Miriam, thank you for bringing that up. And of course, this is, I think, the second time William Ruto is bringing up this matter. First, before the EU delegation, and secondly, before the IEBC itself. And, the persistent, and the continued ignoring of this particular topic, to address this particular topic by Wafula Chebukati, should actually remind us of the scenarios that led to the bungling of the 2017 presidential election. And Dr. Masanga actually has always talked about this issue over and over again. When Wafula Chebukati was asked, where do these spoiled ballot papers go to? And recently I saw Dr. Masanga also asking, should we have a separate maybe ballot box where we should be putting these spoiled votes? These are issues that Wafula Chebukati knew could bring trouble to the elections and to the credibility of it, but he never addressed the issues until the case was lodged at the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court was able to shoot the election. It is when Wafula Chebukati was there looking remorseful, and the shame of having an election
Daniel, we're having trouble. We're
having his eyes.
Daniel.
So
sorry. We're having trouble with your connection. Maybe you should switch to audio. We see if that will be better. Yeah.
All right.
We apologize for that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Go ahead.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, now you're clear.
All right. Thank you so much. So, I was just saying, William Ruto knows he's not going to win this election. But as he is, in as much as he knows that he's not going to win the election, he thinks perhaps by bringing credibility issues on the election will actually bring down the entire tower. And that is why he's actually poking holes on the credibility of the IEBC register. Remember, it is by the basis of looking at the register is where, we shall be able to know that this candidate garnered this number of votes because the turnout was this percentage, and therefore this is quite a credible maybe number of votes garnered by this candidate X, candidate Y, and candidate Z. So if you start actually poking holes on the credibility of the register itself, it means you are actually digging a hole in the foundation of the house, which simply means that you're actually destabilizing the house, and therefore that house cannot be maybe deemed to be a safe place to live in. And therefore, that is why when William Ruto raises certain questions with unconfirmed assertions about the credibility of the register under the custody of IEBC, Wafula Chebukati as the chairman should actually move with speed and be able to summon William Ruto to substantiate and tell Kenyans which evidence does he have to say that more than 1 million votes had been struck off the register. Because, Miriam, if the elections results will be announced in around 11th or 10th of August this year, and William Ruto says he does not agree with the IEBC and that he raised concerns with them 2 months before the elections that the register had irregularities, Miriam, believe me, he will have a legal basis, he will have evidence, that he actually raised these concerns. However, the body which is mandated to ensure that these concerns are settled actually gave it a deaf ear. And that is what IEBC is doing. You know, just leaving blunders all over along the path, so that maybe William Ruto might have an excuse, might have some straws to gather and be able to collect, to build up a case and be able to crumble the credibility of the forthcoming election.
Yes.
And, you know, Miriam, that will waste our time. We do not anticipate maybe having another electoral elections petition, which will go into months. And then from there, maybe, God forbid, because of the negligence and ineptitude of Wafula Chebukati, we are ordered to go to have a repeat election. And remember, you know, also just alleging that 1 million votes, you know, and that's a big number of votes, a big chunk of votes, you know, if it were true, Miriam. We don't know if whatever William Ruto is saying is true or not, because it is upon IBC to prove him wrong or right. You know, that's a big number of votes, and if it goes unaddressed, that is actually a recipe for causing chaos. Because the supporters of William Ruto, be it a rumor or the truth, knowing that their candidates' votes of close to 1 million had been struck off the register, they will go to the polls knowing that the field is not balanced, it is not fair for their candidate, and therefore, in case that he loses, these people are more bound to actually cause chaos and refute the results of the IEBC. So it is upon the IEBC to clean itself and to come out clean and prove that William Ruto is actually basing on assertions and he do not have facts at his fingertips in regards to the allegations that he is actually leveling against IEBC.
Okay.
So it's, Miriam, in essence, it's as if someone is saying that so-and-so is a thief, but the person who is being called a thief does not come out actually to call the other person to prove and bind it to an evidence, you know, that I stole this and that. So that is what IBC is actually doing by ignoring such allegations, Miriam. I submit.
Yes, indeed. And of course, as you have rightfully pointed out, Daniel Wesonga, IBC has not come out strongly, you know, to address this matter, because DP held, I think after the accusations when he was, you know, meeting the EU delegation, and then I think a day later he held a press conference to address the same matter. And, you know, that came after the IBC said that perhaps almost over 800,000, you know, voters had been transferred without the official nod of the IBC. And of course, the clerks and the people who are responsible for this process shall be held, you know, to account. So that is what the IBC had said. And then the next day, the DP comes out and said, you know what, close to 1 million of my voters have been moved or have been actually removed from the register. And Makio, the audit of the voters register is still continuing. So I don't know how he was able to arrive, you know, to this. And I think just to add on what you just said, this is a matter that is quite heavy. So I think IBC should come in and speak on it and allay any fears that even Ruto's, you know, supporters might be having, or other, you know, Kenyans who perhaps right now could be worried that the names are not there in the voters register. And of course, he specifically said the people from his strongholds, that is the Rift Valley and Central. So I think these claims that he made are very heavy as far as the preparation and the integrity of these elections is concerned. So that is something that the IEBC needed to address. And of course, he said that he has evidence. So maybe he should do IEBC the favor and maybe present the evidence to the IEBC and say, this is, you know, why we think, why we are saying what you're saying, because this is the evidence we have. But so far, these are just allegations, and he has no basis to prove what he's saying. And I think this is something that should not be downplayed. IBC needs to come up and speak on this matter so that Kenyans are not worried, and so that the integrity of this election is not put, you know, is not questioned. Of course, there are a lot of things that Kenyans are questioning as far as the preparations of these elections are concerned. But that is something that IBC, Daniel, as you said there, must come and address with a seriousness that this matter deserves to be addressed with. And of course, when he was, something else that he said yesterday, that we believe the commission is up to the task. And my team will work with you to have a credible, free, fair, and verifiable general election. Of course, he's saying this a day after, of course, he said, his voters have been moved and all that. So by him saying his team will work with the IEBC to have a credible, free and fair and verifiable general election, I mean, that is the work of the IEBC. Where does he come in there?
Miriam, I believe that these allegations actually they cut across when it comes to the credibility of IEBC. Remember, if William Ruto says that more than 800 votes from his stronghold has been expunged from the IEBC register, whatever he means is that either there is someone at IEBC who has given him this information, which means IEBC has been compromised. And if it is not that someone from IEBC has given him this information, then it means the breach on data at IEBC has been done actually by people gaining access and being able to realize that more than 800 votes have been transferred or expunged from the IEBC register. So in either way, Miriam, it means IEBC has either been compromised by terms of human maybe interference, someone has been compromised at the IEBC, or even maybe their system have been compromised. And this is not an issue that IEBC should address only to quell concerns from the side of the Deputy President, William Ruto. This should even be a concern to the Azimio side and any other candidate who will be on the presidential ballot in this election. Because if William Ruto or one of the candidates can be able to get inside information from IEBC, then it only means one thing, Miriam, that IEBC has been compromised, either in terms of its people or in terms of its system and databases. So to me, I think it's a very, very serious concern. If they had to go to court after the election and say IEBC had been compromised, and therefore maybe person X or maybe person Y or Z in IEBC was leaking information which was very sensitive, and therefore the credibility of this election cannot be accepted, that will be a done deal, Miriam. If they can also go to court after the election and say the systems at IEBC were this weak, and this vulnerable, in that we could be able to gain access and find out that this and this had been done at IEBC, and therefore this actually proves that anyone else will have manipulated these systems because they're actually not tamper-proof, then that's actually a very, very serious case they are raising there. So to me, I think IEBC should come out and unequivocally, prove that William Ruto does not have any substantial evidence to actually anchor his allegations on. But if we keep on snubbing these kind of allegations, if the other side of Azimio also does not actually call IEBC to action, and that is what I expected, Miriam, that Azimio will actually compel IEBC to respond to the allegations being raised by William Ruto. Because in case of any eventuality, William Ruto knows he's not going to win this election, and therefore, even as he goes down, he wants to go down with the entire tower, with the entire system, so that he either messes up the election or maybe sends Kenyans to an extra cost of holding a rerun in the election, which we should not allow. I believe all the stakeholders in this presidential election should actually stand firm and call out IEBC and tell them, we want you to prove wrong the allegations or right the allegations that William Ruto is raising against the commission. Mm-hmm. Remember, it is the IEBC that will actually give a green light to whoever will have won the election. And if IEBC, by any capacity, if it is perceived to be not credible, if it is perceived to be lopsided in its decision, if it is perceived to be have been manipulated or maybe compromised in a certain way, then it means whoever it will declare as a duly elected president come 9th of August will not also legally, it will have a lot of legal obstacles, Miriam, so to say. So to me, I think these are serious allegations. These are allegations that should be actually be critically looked upon by both sides of the political divide. Because to another, they're actually raising these concerns so that in case of a petition, they'll have actually some kind of, legal standpoint to argue their case. And the other, if they do not actually raise to the occasion and compel IEBC to actually look into these allegations, they might actually be the victims of these same allegations William Ruto is raising against IEBC. So in either way, IEBC has to come out and unequivocally state or maybe put to task William Ruto with the burden of proof of showing them that this is the allegation that I'm having against you, and this is the reason why I'm doing so. And if they're not actually to prove William Ruto wrong, then it will mean actually that he's actually right in his assertions and presumptions. So to me, I think, Miriam, we should look at it critically. Otherwise, it might cost us another presidential election.
Okay.
I submit.
All right, and still staying, of course, Raila Odinga also has been cleared just a couple of hours ago to run as a presidential candidate. Now he's a presidential candidate. Before that, he was an aspirant, so he has been cleared a few hours ago. But still staying with the clearance of the DP yesterday, because that is what is in the headlines of the papers today. Now, Dr. Ruto and his team were accompanied by a boda and a fruit vendor to the clearance table. Both acted as his proposer and witness, Mrs. Pauline Waithera, a greengrocer in Kiambu, otherwise anaitwa Mama Mboga, and Mr. Calvin Sochieng, a boda rider in Kangemi, said their presence at Bomas of Kenya confirmed that Kenya Kwanza is a team of a common person. I would think, that perhaps, okay, fine, going there and seconding him, I think that was fine. But perhaps what the boda, because as they have been selling the UDA party, maybe a nomination in a political position to advance their plight that could be more profound, or maybe giving them tickets, so that they're actually inside and they're part of the table where policies are made, but just accompanying them and seconding him. Is this a political gimmick, or what do you make of what happened yesterday by these two accompanying him?
I find this kind of hypocrisy actually nauseating, because William Ruto talks about Mama Mboga. He talks about uplifting women and the downtrodden in the society, whereas when push comes to shove, he does not show that kind of, initiative in action. Tell me of any boda candidate that UDA is fielding in any other region of the country. There's none. Even the Bomet young lady, Lynette Toto, who is vying on a UDA ticket, when she tried to come in Karen before the nomination, before the people themselves elevated her to become the flag bearer of UDA, she was blocked from accessing the premise of the deputy president. And it is there. You can check on the internet. You can check on various tabloids, that we have in this country. William Ruto has never shown a resolve and has never shown any initiative to actually walk the talk of making sure that millions of hustlers and Mama Mbogas and Watia Boda na Mikokoteni that he usually uses as a subject of his campaign to propel his agenda are actually taken and put in those positions that he usually talks about. When it came for a moment for him to select his running mate, it took him almost 48 hours, just juggling between two elites, of Professor Kindiki Kithure and Rigathi Gachagua, who is a billionaire. There was no talk of a Mama Mboga, of Mtu wa Mkokoteni, or Mtu wa Boda in Karen. In fact, at that particular time, no any other layman, or maybe common mwananchi was allowed in the premise, because it was actually a political affair and it was meant for the political elites. So to me, I think this is just a mirage. It's a facade that does not hold any water. And it's unfortunate that he's misusing the poor in the society. He's misusing those poor women and men to actually drive a selfish agenda that has got nothing to do with them. When he talks about maybe bringing about a hustler economy, he talks about not borrowing more loans from the outside. He also talks about, in the same tongue, about giving millions and billions of shillings to these hustler small market enterprise economies to do their businesses. Where is he going to get this money to give hustlers if he does not borrow from outside? Because we know globally, even countries like Singapore, countries like Malaysia, countries like United Arab Emirates,
They are where they are today simply because they had to borrow from the West, to be able to build their economies. So I think, Miriam, whatever even narrative or whatever economic model that William Ruto sells, they're just pure white lies that do not have any economic backing. They do not have any substantial, basis upon which you can say this model is going to work because of this and that and that. So to me, I think, Miriam, it is misusing people, just parading a mama mboga there or a mtu wa boda boda simply because you want to have their votes. It's unethical and uncouth and something that we should not encourage. Let's also, Miriam, look at something that he's been using of late, talking about giving the government of Kenya Kwanza, half of government of Kenya Kwanza to women. This is something that he has actually just brought on board conveniently, since the other side of Azimio has actually nominated Martha Karua as the running mate. So to water this nomination down, he's actually now flaunting a proposal to create a commission, or I don't know what, a caucus for women, so that they could be able to be given half of the government, something that was never in his initial plan. So this is a man who is playing politics of expediency and conveniency. So it is upon the people of Kenya, to look beyond the hypocrisy that they are portraying, to look beyond the cheap narrative and, the narrative that they are creating of hustler, the hustler nation, the downtrodden, and see that actually these people are actually billionaires. William Ruto is a billionaire. Rigathi Gachagua is a billionaire. Everyone that is around them, Tabitha Karanja is a billionaire, Susan Kihika is a daughter of a billionaire, So these are people who are actually misusing the downtrodden to be able to advance their fake narrative. And that is what it is. Because today, 5 years since he started campaigning on the basis of hustlers and mama mboga, I would expect to see even a gubernatorial candidate out of the 47 counties, even one gubernatorial candidate having a UDA ticket and running for governor and saying that I was a boda rider the other day, but because William Ruto has brought these politics of hustlers, of elevating the downtrodden in the society, today I'm going to vie for governors. We have so many boda riders who meet the threshold of becoming a governor, with university degrees. We wouldn't be having UDA giving us guys with fake papers, trying to run for governor and other positions in the country. If we have hustlers who are educated, hustlers who have degrees, who actually meet the threshold, actually languishing out there in poverty. So let William Ruto walk the talk, and let him, everything that he says, be shown in his own actions. Those were the words of Martha Karua, the Azimio running mate, during the national prayer breakfast the other day, that our actions, our words should actually also be reflected in our actions. And that is what is lacking in UDA, Miriam. I submit.
All right. So finally, now that Deputy President William Ruto has been cleared as a presidential candidate for Kenya Kwanza and running on the ticket of United Democratic Alliance, what is likely now to happen? Are we likely to continue seeing the political events at his official current residence of the Deputy President, or what do you expect that should change now moving forward that he has been cleared?
Miriam, I believe.
Okay, we apologize for that. Okay, Peter. Yes, go ahead.
Are you now? Yes, sorry about the technical hitch. So I was saying what we should be able to see from William Ruto is actually what IEBC on their official Twitter handle actually directed to him, that he should abide by the electoral laws of this country now that he has changed from being a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya now to a presidential candidate. And the law is very clear that all presidential candidates should be given a fair playing ground. And we cannot have a fair playing ground if one candidate is actually politicking in the day coming from a government-owned house. We cannot have a fair playing ground when we have one candidate actually speaking from on the top, on the rooftop of a car that has been fueled on a car that is owned by the same government. We cannot have a fair playing ground, Miriam, if you're having one presidential candidate walking around with the whole police station, of security officers whereas others have been allocated either 2 or 3 police officers to safeguard their security. We cannot have a free and fair level ground if a presidential candidate, one is not earning any money from government and another is actually earning money salaries from government, actually using the monies and other advantages to campaign against that presidential candidate. So to me, Miriam, for us to maybe have a free, fair and credible election, once William Ruto was declared to be an official presidential candidate in the 2022 presidential election, he should have forfeited all the privileges, all the things that comes with being a state officer, and he should have campaigned on a very, very neutral basis. We hope to see him also having the same bodyguards as Wajakoya. We hope to see him also using his own cars, fueling them, and actually using his own choppers. We ought to now seeing him, campaigning from his current official residence. We want to see him using his house along Gong Road, holding delegation, or maybe better still going to hold those delegations in Hasla Center, Kilimani, or maybe in Kamagut, where he has a home. So all those are the things that we need to see now out of William Ruto's presidential campaign, because he has ceased now being a public servant and a government office holder, and he has become now a presidential candidate who is subject to fair treatment, which is extended to all the other presidential candidates who have been cleared by the IEBC. So to me, Miriam, that is what I'm expecting to see. There should not be any sacred cows in this, in that another person has the advantage of state machineries and the rest of the presidential candidates are actually digging into their own pockets. That just the same way, if you want to be able to run for public office, whether you are a CS, a chief executive officer in the county, or maybe an MCA, you should actually first of all resign from your position before you can be able to vie for public office, maybe in another capacity. Just the same way, even today, we have a case against Kimilili Member of Parliament, Didmas Barasa, for using a state car, a CDF vehicle, to campaign for his re-election in Kimilili. That is the same case that should also apply for William Ruto. One, for using the state-owned house in Karen to conduct campaigns and other private political meetings. Two, for using even government vehicles and also state security that has been extended to him under the capacity of a deputy president and a state officer to be able to campaign across the country. That should not be the case. And if IBC is serious about ensuring a level playing field for all candidates, then it should move with speed and ensure that William Ruto actually complies with these electoral laws that have been put there to ensure a free, fair, and credible election. And just to put the icing on the cake, Miriam, like I always say, an election is not a one-day event, but it is a process. So any unfairness that is injected in the process at any juncture in time should actually reflect and result in unfairness in the eventual declaration of the winner of that particular process. So therefore, let them start putting their acts together at this particular time when it is still early. Let them make sure that everyone complies. Let them make sure that no presidential candidate is given advantage over the other, and let them make sure that everything that is done will be done following the due diligence and the due process of law, and to ensure fairness so that they are able to give the people of Kenya a free, fair, and credible election. I submit, Miriam.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, as we conclude, as I said just a few moments ago, the 5th of June today, Raila Odinga has officially begun his 5th run as he hopes to be the 5th president. His supporters believe fate, symbolism, and the people are behind him. I'm reading from the headline on the Sunday Nation today. and are behind him. His critics say it is time to hang his political boots. Will August bring victory to the enigma of the Kenyan politics? Plus, Raila explains why he wants to be the next State House occupant. That is an interview that the Sunday Nation did, and you'll find that on page 6, 7, 17, 18, and 19 inside of these newspapers. But what I wanted for us to get is that Raila has been cleared. So now what should we expect moving forward? Because, you know, these campaigns began so many months ago, but now they are supposed to officially begin after they have been cleared. So what should you expect from him moving forward?
Miriam, I think as it is right now, the battle lines have already been drawn. The major, maybe game changer was in the selection of the running mates. And as you know, William Ruto went for Rigathi Gachagua. That's a man that you'll hear about his arrest over the 12 billion scandal. You'll hear his name about a case actually where he's being implicated together with the current Nyeri governor of the killing of the late governor of Nyeri, Wahome Gakuru. So this is a man whose name actually carries horror and dark past. And therefore, when you place him side by side with Martha Karua, you know, the tale about Martha Karua is a tale of courage. You know, a woman who has been in the struggle of the second liberation of this country, a woman of integrity, who has no even a single case of graft against name, a woman who has twice, walked out of government of the day because she did not principally believe in the agenda or the ideas of the government of the day. You remember the day she walked out on Moi, because she did not agree with him. You remember she resigned from the Mwai Kibaki government, despite the fact that she was a very staunch defender of the late President Mwai Kibaki, and even of the same government during the 2008-2007, power struggle. So that tells you that this is a woman of integrity. So when seated against Rigathi Gachagua, William, that should tell you that this is an already decided race. And it's actually an election where Kenyans are given two options between those who used to strangle and choke the veins of progress and those reformists who actually gave Kenya the constitution that we have today, the freedom that we have today, that actually unlocked and unblocked the bloating that was actually suffocating our economy. Today we wouldn't be having a blooming economy was it not for the second liberation of this country, which allowed multi-party democracy that actually gave way for NAC and many other political parties to be formed, that gave us Mwai Kibaki as the president, moving away from the one-party state that was actually being perpetuated by KANU. If it wasn't for that, Miriam, today perhaps, who knows, we would still be having KANU holding the reins of power in this country. So it's going to be a very, very clear-cut contest between reformists and the people who are against the reforms. The people, it's also to be going to be a race between people who actually look at the history of this country and actually learn from it to be able to build the future of this country, and the people who want us to forget the history of this country so that we repeat the same mistakes of the past. The other day, I saw the Kenya Kwanza Coalition holding their first rally in Nairobi after being cleared in Kamkunji grounds. What most Kenyans do not know, that if it were not for the Azimio duo of Martha Karua and Raila Odinga, we will not be having Kenya Kwanza holding their rallies in Kamkunji. And ironically, the people who were at Kamkunji for the rally, Rigathi Gachagua and William Ruto, were some of the Moi spanner boys and puppets who are actually clamping on the reformists of the day during those second liberation struggle. They are the people who are beating and mutilating those who are fighting to have Kamkunji grounds and many other public, spaces like Uhuru Park and Ngong Forest to be salvaged and to be spared from the scrupulous hands of land grabbers who are in the Nyayo regime. So to me, Miriam, it's a very, very clear-cut election. The difference between the Azimio ticket and the Kenya Kwanza ticket is like day and night. And therefore, Kenyans have no any other choice but to side with the people who have the progressive agenda, people who have a legacy of fighting for the rights of the people of Kenya, for the preserving of the state and its resources, people who have always stood for what is right in this country. Yesterday, William Ruto was complaining about the media biased. And what he forgot to mention also is that was it not also for the Azimio duo, we will not even have that media that he's complaining that is not covering him. And I really like the kind of answer that Azimio side actually gave to William Ruto this morning, that the media must have the freedom to vilify, to condemn, and also to give you the coverage that they wish to do. And that is what we call the freedom of the media. We saw it in the US when Donald Trump was running against Joe Biden, you know. The media was actually against Donald Trump. And he could call out the media, you know, to call them the fake media, and the media will also rebuttal back. And this is because as media, we have the responsibility of guiding the society towards the right direction. If a country fails to get better leadership and the media of that particular country does not come out to educate the people about the advantages and the goodness of electing proper leadership, then the media will... And Miriam, I support whatever sentiments as Mio leader said, that the media needs to have the freedom. Whether they are doing it wrongly or badly, that is the freedom they should have. So long as they are not inciting the country or polarizing the country through their content, they're allowed to have whichever side they choose to stand in. They're allowed to give coverage to the events that they feel are right for their viewers. And whoever feels that maybe this media does not favor him, they can look for their own media. Kenya is a free country. You can open your TV station, comply with the regulations that are there, and you can be able to air your own content, so long as you do not polarize and do not go against the law. So Miriam, that is it. And I believe Azimio la Umoja is going to win this election with more than 60%. That is what the intelligence has. That is what is actually evident even in the campaigns that are ongoing around the country. What maybe these 2 months might change is the margin by which the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is going to beat William Ruto with. And in as far as I'm concerned with the information maybe that I have, the margin is only going to widen. So that is the case of the matter, Miriam. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. And I will not even get into the presidential debate that Kenya Kwanza has said its presidential candidate will not appear in the presidential debates that we've been having for the last couple of years because he cited the media bias. And I think we had a conversation here on Friday, and I think one of the panelists suggested that could it be a blanket excuse because maybe some of these issues, because they normally debate and answer on specific topics like corruption, like say healthcare, like tell us more about your economic agenda and things like that. So maybe there are issues maybe to do with corruption or others that perhaps they might feel uncomfortable to talk about. And I think one of the panelists here also joked that maybe because after the presidential election debate, then we do have the running mates debate, and maybe Rigathi Gachagua, as we have known the way he's been expressing himself, he may not be very good in a structured conversation. So maybe that could be just a blanket excuse not to attend for because it may not be good for the team. I don't know what you make of that very shortly because we are out of time.
Miriam, they always say that the guilty are always afraid. If Kenya Kwanza coalition does not have anything to hide, why are they not coming out to have a scrutiny of the same, whatever they're promising the people of Kenya? Why can they come and for the first time before the national television with more than 50 million Kenyans voting, be able to explain to us the concept behind the bottom-up economic model? Because we've never been able to get someone who can be able to bring out the bottom-up approach model in a context that a layman can be able to comprehend and decipher on how it's going to actually impact our economy. So perhaps this presidential debate would have been a golden chance for the Kenya Kwanza coalition and most probably the UDA party to bring to fore and explain to Kenyans how the bottom-up approach is going to elevate the lives of the millions of the hustlers across the country. So if they are running away from explanations, then it means there's something queer, there's something sinister that they are running away from. And saying that the media is biased is just an excuse. In 2017, Raila Odinga had the same complaints, about maybe, how things were being done, even the IBC and all that. But nonetheless, he could not vilify the media and he could not even boycott when being called upon to actually sell his agenda to the people of the Republic of Kenya. So unless they are able to come out in this debate and tell us whatever they are more likely to do for us as a people, we think, Miriam, we should not even bother also electing them during the August polls, because if you're called for a job interview, in essence, these are job seekers. And if Kenyans who are going to give you this job have called you for an interview, because I believe these interviews are watched by Kenyans across the country. If you've been called for a job interview and you do not want to show up for the interview, then it simply means you are not also interested in the job. Then why should we give you a job if you're not interested to tell us how best you are going to maybe tackle the task that we are going to give you? So to me, I think, Miriam, it is just the fear of being asked hard questions. It's just the fear of being able to put to task to substantiate their lies and their treachery that William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua actually shying away from the presidential debate. And they know whoever they are going to compete against, the key contender, their key arch rival is someone who has his agenda on his fingertips. Martha Karua, the running mate of Raila Odinga, is someone who has the agenda of what she wants to do, or the government of Azimio wants to do for the people of Kenya, more so the women and the youth of this country, on her fingertips. And you can clearly listen to her campaigns, see the agenda she's driving, the kind of calmness and articulation that she brings out her issues with, and compare and contrast with whatever Rigathi Gachagua is doing. Insult, confusion, and a loose mouth that actually spoils more votes for his presidential candidate than even, the other side of the divide. So that is the candidate that we're having. William Ruto on his side is actually speaking out of anger, speaking out of retribution, speaking out of vengeance, The kind of energy that is on the other side, I believe also couples down to their refusal to come up, to show up for the presidential debate. So Miriam, even so, they have to be told that this is a presidential debate that will actually comprise of all the candidates, including Wajakoya, Mwaure, and all the others that are going to be cleared. So even if they boycott this interview, this presidential debate, all the other candidates are going to show up. And from there, they are actually going for the first time, when all Kenyans are listening and watching, to sell their agenda and snippets of their manifesto to the people of the Republic of Kenya. So it is a loss for UDA or Kenya Kwanza not to show up for the presidential debate. So it's good riddance, Miriam, in as far as their boycott is concerned. How I hope that they just continue and don't show up, they don't change their mind maybe in the coming few weeks, so that Kenyans are able to see liars, people who have been hiding under a narrative that cannot be implemented, and cowards who cannot even be able to stand against their enemies, vis-a-vis people who know whatever they want to do for this country, and people who have a very clear-cut agenda that they can be able to articulate. So that is what it is, Miriam. If they choose not to show up, for the presidential debate, then they are bad. This is going to work actually against them. So it is not a matter of maybe vilifying the media or maybe gaining cheap mileage out of it. I submit.
All right. Thank you so much. I actually hope that Kenya Kwanza changes their mind, because I think, as you've mentioned, this is a very important platform where each side, and it's not just Raila and Ruto who will be part of this debate, but the others presidential candidates who we've not heard so much from, and perhaps it will be a good opportunity for them to explain their position on certain matters, and for them to sell their agenda and to convince their electorate. So I think that by the Deputy President not showing up to that presidential debate, he will be doing a great disservice to, especially to his supporters, who will be happy to cheer him on and to hear him explain even the bottom-up economics, which a lot of Kenyans are eager to even know and understand. As you know, none of them has done a great job in explaining this, so perhaps this would have been a great opportunity. So I hope it's not yet too late. So I hope they change their mind. And I've been seeing, so I've been now observing Citizen TV for the past couple of days after these allegations and claims by the UDA, by Deputy President about their bias. And I've seen they've really tried to adjust their airing and their news coverage. And I've seen like yesterday and the other day and the day, like for the rest of last week, they've tried to give equal coverage, and to even start with Kenya Kwanza news stories, and maybe Azimio's story will come after the 10th minute or so. I've been observing, and perhaps they're trying to respond to some of these claims, because it's, Citizen TV is a reputable media house, so I think they took this claims very seriously, and they're trying to make some adjustment. I'm not speaking for them, it's just an observation I have made. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We don't have any other topic that touches on any other country in Africa, but don't worry, I'll be back here tomorrow 3 p.m., God willing, with the latest from across the continent in the Diaspora Dispatches. But for right now, thank you so much, Daniel Wesonga. And we did have Dr. Matanga earlier on the show. He is on transit. He was at the airport, so we couldn't talk much. But thank you so much for your company. Hopefully we can meet here tomorrow for more news from across Kenya and indeed from across Africa. This has been Africa Showdown. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Bye-bye for now.